So I'm Pierre, and I'm going to talk to you about Kazarma and how we tried bridging ActivityPub with Matrix. So we talked a lot about interoperability even 2 years ago, and we found it sad that we talked about interoperability for proprietary platforms, not with our alternative decentralized networks. And so we tried doing that. Kazarma is hosted on GitLab. It's using the license HGPL v3, and it's done in Elixir. So here I've shown that there was some stuff that hinted at building it. There was some article on the Matrix guide saying that you could bridge two decentralized networks, and there also was a Hacker News comment by Matthew saying that there could be an ActivityPub bridge. And there also was a Matrix client library made by UHoreg that we wanted to use, and also an ActivityPub client library that was extracted from Pleroma and made by the MoodleNet people and then by people at Bonfire. So the idea is to bridge those networks by creating Puppet users. So Kazarma is both an Matrix server. It is an application service like other bridges, and it's also an ActivityPub server. So we, on the ActivityPub side, we create Puppet actors, and they can talk to ActivityPub users. And on the Matrix side, we create Matrix Puppet users that can talk to other Matrix users. So we wanted to both build an application service that you can deploy alongside your home server, and also to have a public bridge so that other people on the federated Matrix network can talk to ActivityPub users even if they don't have Kazama installed on their server. So that's what I'm showing here. And as I said, you can also be installed on your home server, and then you have nicely displayed usernames. For instance, it's just one character that changed. We made a web front end to help people see the bridged addresses. We also show here that we can display rooms that we'll talk about later. We started by bridging the chat that had been implemented by Pleroma. It's only a one-to-one conversation chat, so we use the direct rooms of Matrix to do that. We then try to bridge direct messages like on Mastodon. Those are posts that are only sent to people that are mentioned in it. So there we used private rooms in Matrix. So there are no end-to-end encryption in ActivityPub. So for now, Kazama only works on unencrypted rooms. It could work on encrypted rooms, but then it would just bridge by de-encrypted the messages. And then we also wanted to bridge ActivityPub public activities by creating public rooms where public activities are just bridged. And it was something that wasn't really well thought out, because we thought that it was a good idea to start bridging public activities as soon as ActivityPub users are searched for. And so we made a relay actor that started following people quite immediately. And it turned out that the ActivityPub Fediverse had bad experiences with follow bots, as they say, and because there were people trying to index the Fediverse. So there were angry people that started defederating our staging instance. But there were also nice people who came in our Matrix room, and we thought about ways to make it opt-in. For instance, by having the relay bot send a direct message and wait for a positive answer, or by having it wait to be followed to then follow back. Here an example with a PureTube video where we can use reply to have people post comments on the video. And let me show. We also did something pretty nice with Mobilizon, where you have groups, and then we found that we could have people invite Matrix users, and it would create a private room, and as soon as people join the room, then there would be members of the group, and then you could use the same activity types for discussions that happen in Mobilizon groups. So, as a summary, we bridge the user search, the profile, we bridge multiple activity types, post, chat message, video, and events. ActivityPub rooms are still to be finished. We also started to build Matrix user rooms, so people could ask the relay bot to make a room that they're administrator of as a kind of artbooks room, and then it will publish what they say as a public ActivityPub activity, so they could be followed and appear on the Fediverse. There's also something to be thought again about that, because on ActivityPub you need to have a way to see the, the activities that are sent from the instance when they were sent. So we made a web page for the activities that are sent, but then there's this thing of also showing replies like that, and it's not something that's really nice to also display activities from other instances, so we need to think about it again. And as I said, the Mobilizon groups, the private room has direct messages, and the direct room has Peruma chat. We have replies, attachments, and mentions. So there is still quite some things to be done, but you are welcome to come and provide feedback or maybe contribute if you would like. I've also shown, as it's a developer room, some parts of the application service library that we made in Elixir. So it just needs some configuration, like the one on the application service configuration file. And then you can use a nice feature in Elixir, like pattern matching, to just select the messages that you want to act on. And here's an example. So just to finish, I'd like to thank NGI0 and NLNet that funded us. And we are in the process of having Yellow to sponsor us some servers for our public instance. And we've got hints on security by Radically Open Security, and then accessibility by accessibility.nl. And we've also started to create an organization to work on Kazama on other projects that are mostly built on Matrix. So feel free to come follow us and maybe support us. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Are there any comments? Yeah.
Questions in
Yeah.
the room? I'm not so much into social media such as Fediverse, but I got the intention that there's much more public conversation going on than is usual on instant messaging. So if I got a somewhat closed room type in Matrix and there's an interaction via a bridge to via Kazama, would it mean that the whole conversation can become a public conversation on the Fediverse side?
No, it wouldn't. If there are something that are bridged as public, it's only because it's on public rooms, and the other way around too. So if we use private rooms, it's only for private messages, and it's
so it keeps the same type of
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You didn't mention the delete event of ActivityPub. So do you support it yet, or do you plan to support it in the future? Be able to delete a post on ActivityPub, for example?
Yeah, I forgot to mention it, but we already support the delete event. So deletions are bridged on both sides of networks.
Could you talk about the choice of Elixir? Is it like, did you thought that it was a language for this application, or it was just like your default language? Or?
It's a language that I love, but it's also with the framework Phoenix. It's also a great language to build HTTP APIs, and that's something that we do on both sides of the bridge. So it worked out pretty well in the end. Yes.
Another question: is it already in such a state that we can just, as you proposed, install it next to our home server and it will just run, or is it still having some rough edges?
I think it's not yet ready, but it's really close. I'd really love to start by deploying the public bridge so that people can start using it and provide feedback as a public beta first. So I think it's not yet ready to be deployed on your own home server. Plus the fact that we started to work on the features of the public bridge means that there are still some things that could be bridged that are not supposed to be bridged on a private bridge.
So what's the prospect on end-to-end encryption? Like, it's very cool that it supports unencrypted stuff, but I'm a bit curious on the ActivityPub side. Like, is there anything happening there, or?
I don't really much know. I know that people have been talking about, but I'm not sure what the state of it actually right now.
Cool.
Yes.
So in terms of bridging, in terms of bridging between encrypted and non-encrypted chats, because you said that if you have a private encrypted chat in Matrix, it will bridge that to a direct message in ActivityPub, but that's still public. If you can intercept that message or access the server database or whatever, you can still read that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that I think is a choice to make. I think that it's also there are some features that are added if we add support for encrypted rooms, because it still gets encrypted on home servers and federated home server on Matrix, but it also could give a false sentiment of security. So that's something that we really don't know about and still needs to be decided.
Okay. No question or comment? Thank you very much.
Thank you.